So hi Amreen, welcome to the Better Citizens. This is a series where we invite all the founders, CEOs of social organizations. So for the viewers, I would like to introduce our speaker today. This is Miss Amreen Abdullah. She is a mental health professional and a social entrepreneur. And she is also a founder and general secretary of Ketli Foundation, which is in Lucknow. I am really looking forward to looking at your journey and knowing more about this initiative. So let's not waste time. Let's get to the question and answer session. So Amreen, just introduce yourself to the viewers so that they know a little bit about you before going ahead with the Katie's journey. Over to you.
Sure. Hi everyone, my name is Amreen Abdullah. I am a youth and I stay in India, in the northern part of India, which is Uttar Pradesh, Lucknow, which we commonly call Nawabpur for short.
Yeah.
And I have been raised and brought up in this city with a lot of cultural heritage and a lot of influence of what you rightly called Tehzeeb and Nawabiyat.
Yes.
And a lot of its culture has also given me a lot of my virtues and a lot of my biases. So I will be talking in the interview about that too.
Yeah.
And my schooling has been in Lucknow. I did my graduation in psychology honors.
Right.
Post that, I did my master's in social work with a specialization in mental health from Tata Institute of Social Sciences. For a few years, I was enrolled in a job at ILS Pune, Indian Law Society.
Yeah.
And I was based not in Pune but in Gujarat, where we were collaborating with the state government to improve the quality of mental health services over there.
Right.
And along with that, I was also pursuing international law in mental health, human rights and peace.
Okay.
So yeah, the process has been a lot of learning, and it has been overwhelming at times, and it's given me great joy also. Yeah.
Great to know about it. So in this entire journey of yours, who has been your inspiration, your role model, which is actually encouraged you to go ahead and move ahead?
I think so. My greatest source of inspiration, or say motivation, has always been the people that I have worked with. Because as mental health professionals, they give me great insights and great privilege to actually enter into their lives and talk to them and somehow give me the opportunity to support them.
Yeah.
So as you asked, I don't think so. I will say that those that inspire me have been people that I have worked with.
Yes.
Those who've come with distress, with the need of support to us, because they give us the privilege to actually enter their lives and know very private details of themselves.
Yes.
And their struggles, their recovery over it, their courage, I think so, has been the most important motivating factor for me to grow individually and also to grow as a professional.
Yeah, amazing. So coming forward to the most exciting part, about Ketli Foundation. So how and why and when did you start Ketli Foundation, and what was the motivation behind it? And what are the current activities that you've been doing in this foundation as such?
So the idea to bring up Ketli was driven from a very emotional aspect when I was working at hospitals for mental health to improve quality of care.
Yes.
And it in a brief, so like I was really young. I remember me being 25 or so, where at that stage, everything that comes to you, you respond in a rebel manner, or you respond in an action directive approach.
Yeah.
And over there, I was working more so like a researcher, which is a longitudinal approach. And whatever I was seeing, or anything in the form of abuse or inhuman, unfair treatment that I was observing, came like a lot of anger and emotional jolt for me. So I remember speaking to one of my mentors, and he said that, see, Ambreen, if you start addressing one situation bit by bit, you're going to stay here for only a year or 2 or maybe 5, but that solution is not going to make a shift in the cultural approach.
Right.
The people that actually are raising the situation.
Right.
So why don't you focus on a systemic approach and start making changes?
Yes.
So that stuck with me somewhere in my head, and the emotional aspect that I was carrying as a baggage, I started writing it. In the form of small poetries, in the form of small anecdotal stories, without highlighting the names of the person, but it gives my energy like a vent out, and whatever I was recording, I could go back to the situations also. And I remember I had this pause in the last 3 of my working years where I was sent for writing a report and doing some data collection in isolation. I mean, the team was not along with me. And it was like quite a long time, a year, a month and a half, which gave me like this pause period where I had nobody to go out, hang out with. The place I was situated in was also not very fancy where I could visit places.
Yes.
So I would mostly stay in my room and just go to work. And that period actually was not like a shocker for me. I was seeing things which were gravely wrong in the institutes of mental health care. I was seeing things which disturbed me, and I was seeing because I was working for a few years, I could actually identify patterns in things and see patterns and see what would be the right fit to break this pattern. So one of the patterns that I observed while I was there was something which in the language of mental health we call a revolving door syndrome. So there I saw a lot of people being admitted in the hospital and not being discharged at all. Now when I say this to people question that how is this possible, because the old and the new mental health policy do not allow an extension more than 3 months of hospitalization. So if somebody is hospitalized for 3 months, that person has to be discharged.
Correct.
But there are always ways to get through stuff for people who don't want their caregiver, their family members back. So what I was seeing that in the morning OPD, people would get discharged. By the evening OPD itself, they would keep sitting in the hospital and then get readmitted.
Right.
And there is when I decided that I'll start talking to people. What is the reason कि भाई घर की दहलीज तक तो ले जाओ इन लोगों को.
Exactly.
Let them see their verandas maybe. Let them just go visit a chai shop and come back.
Yes.
Instead of just being confined to these walls of these hospitals. So a major gap that I was receiving from the caregivers as well as people was that the caregivers said कि ये 5 साल से अंदर है यहाँ पर. He's a son to somebody, he's a father to somebody. But we can't wait those 5-6 years for his son to be taken care of. So that role has been fulfilled by somebody. So somehow, because of the doubt and capacity of people and the roles changing over the years, and they taking a little while to get back to their roles in the society, people started losing touch with people who were really close to them. Exactly. And this was really challenging and disturbing. So this is when I was back there in that city thinking, and I started contemplating these thoughts with my partner, who is now my husband also. So we co-founded this organization before our marriage.
Right.
So I started speaking to Fahad about it, and he also was very disturbed with the situation, and he said that I want to help, and I don't know, I'm not a mental health professional, so what do we do? So we started thinking and contemplating about these situations and started thinking, why is this happening?
Right.
And we realized that we have to think according to the context and listen very closely to the voices of people, what they are saying. So India में सबसे बड़ी problem इंसान तब burden बन जाता है जब financial dependency ज़्यादा होती है.
Absolutely.
So you want, so अगर आप financially dependent हैं, you will be treated, unless you are a child, like a baby, as a burden.
Right.
Even you have, like, you can see back in the records, even a lot of people think their parents to be burdens once they get old.
Yeah.
So we thought that these people, if they want to be independent, if they want to be free from these spaces and in life in general, they have to have financial independence.
Right.
So we realized that financial importance is something which is taken very seriously in India and across the world. But in India specifically, because there are no safety nets, there are no policies for people to get aided if they lose jobs and if they have a mid-crisis in life. And obviously mental health is a luxury for a lot of people.
Correct.
A lot of people keep hiding it for a really long point of time. So we should develop a program which supports financial independence, which is one way where people could get an outlet to enter back into the societies. But if we want to make it sustainable, we have to add emotional support to it.
Yes.
So unless the person, him or herself, is confident or to move ahead in life, has emotional sustainability, that person will enter maybe in the financial aspect of his life, the employment aspect of his life or her life, but it will be really difficult to sustain it.
Yes.
We designed a program which was a flagship program. We call it Ketli because initially we thought that we will grow in a different format, but as things are, whatever you plan doesn't works on the same route, and I'm glad it did not, because we could explore and learn new things. And we started with something called Ketli, which were a brand of tea carts within the city, run by persons recovering from mental illness.
Yes.
So, just giving you a little bit of brief about what kind of people we were working with. These were people from middle-income backgrounds, having a family to live with.
Yes.
Most of them had some amount of family support. Their families wanted to bring a change in their lives. They were referred to us by on-duty consultants, which they were already going to. We did not form a team of mental health professionals under the program, because we collaborated with the professionals that were giving us help. And the dialogue was that we're working on the health bit, we're working on the rehabilitation, reintegration bit, and if we integrate both of them, both are going to actually benefit from each other. One cannot go alone in any direction.
Absolutely.
Both have to be aligned.
So
that is how we started working with the health professionals in this. And the idea was to have a program like a fellowship program, specifically designed for persons with mental illness, which I don't think is possibly existing in India. So each person, we were not maybe reaching out to many lives. We were handpicking a few people who were willing to create a change in their own lives. And our effort was to create a small change to a tiny business enterprise, which we were handing them over to them.
Right.
So they go through a bunch of trainings for a month or two, which includes a lot of mental health trainings, a lot of right-based trainings, a lot of employment productivity trainings. And after the trainings, they are actually they experiment for a month or so in a room that we create like their social enterprise, which is the tea cart within a room.
Right. Right.
And it's the process is that they work in a conditioned environment where they're getting clients that are not real clients, but they act like clients,
dummy clients,
and they do the real process, like the real process.
Right.
And once they are comfortable to do the whole process of it for like 15 days to 20 days, there is one person actually at the tea carts who supports them. Okay. We call the peer.
Okay.
And this person is a youth himself.
Okay.
And this person, along with this person and the person who is deputed at the cart for the process of the fellowship, we have designed two techniques. One is the gradual reintegration program, where when we say gradual reintegration program, a gradual reintegration program rather, and a time-based program, where this is identified and they start working, and slowly the car, one by one, week by week, they also start working from a period of 2 hours, which we gradually, idea is that they add more tasks to their rules and they add more hours to it, so that they are able to work actually for a full length of 8 competitive hours. Correct. Which is required in the field to eventually work. And then after 6 months, they actually are supposed to work for 3 months without the peer support, without the supervision, so that they are able to run the enterprise on their own, independently. In the whole process, we also follow the human rights approach, where each person is provided a stipend for the amount of hours that person works. Okay. So it's a for-profit program, basically for-profit enterprise. Yes. Where each person is paid for whatever hours they are working. Yeah. And eventually, then there's a transition where after these 6 months, when this person is independently working, there is a dialogue that the team builds with the person, saying what kind of paths this person wants to take for himself or herself for inclusion. So then the dialogue is that because they've learned newfound skills of hospitality, do they want to get into hospitality? Do they want to do their own startup? Yeah. Do they want to fund their own catering? So do they want to start a small shop for themselves? Right. Or do they want to get into a mainstream job? So giving you an example of our first person who started working, he was a Sardarji, and he was we would call him human calculator. And he was very smart with money. He was great with money. So I remember the proudest moment of my life in Cape as a co-founder of Cately was when after working for 9 months, he still wanted to work at Cately. Wow. And he said, लेकिन अब मेरे पैसे बढ़ाओ, मैं अकेले हैंडल कर रहा हूँ, अब मेरे आप पैसे बढ़ाओ और मैं ऐसा करता हूँ. He got the grip of increasing 2 hours slowly, and he understood the value of it. So he said, अभी इस महीने में 1 घंटे बढ़ाऊंगा, अगले महीने में 1 घंटे और बढ़ाऊंगा, लेकिन हर घंटे के साथ साथ 700 रुपए मेरे बढ़ाओगे. And I was just amazed looking at his face, and he was doing this challenging dialogue with like and shop owner and. Right. And he was actually speaking for himself. He was actually speaking for himself. And he was speaking for himself. Exactly. So that is something which is incredible. I have. So nobody feels happy giving out money. Yeah. I was the happiest. I was like, और ले लो, कितने चाहिए आपको, सरदार जी. And so then he started making plans where he would be like, but साल के end में I will visit Amritsar. And by this, so this is the power you give people in their hand about dignity and about choices, where they say that I need a holiday, I need a break, right? I need these savings to be shelled out for another business. So later he came back to us and he said that back in dates where I was working 10 years ago, he was chronically ill, and he was from psychosis. His father was schizophrenia, a very chronic disease. think that I think so I should do something about money because I love money and I love counting money. So that we started thinking and we said, what should you do? Yeah. And he actually innovated a shop. He opened a shop जिसमें चिल्लड़ बांटते हैं.
Oh, okay.
So he built up a shop, like a tapri for himself, something like K3, in his locality, where he would go to the bank, get the change, and distribute the change to the different shopkeepers, where he would get a cut. And while working at K3, he rented out 4 hours for that. Wow. And he was having like a double income.
Exactly.
And then he had savings, and I can go on and on with his story and many other stories that we been privileged to be a part of. Yeah. And, but it's just sheer joy to know people who have so much strength, have so much of power in themselves, and just the system that we should be ashamed and we should be really disappointed. Sometimes objectifies people, just treats them as maybe a patient or treats them no more than their illness.
Yeah.
So I think so. We at K3 got this opportunity. We were privileged to have this opportunity where we could actually enter in people's life and say that this is something we could do, and you already have everything. So let's see what's the best out of it.
Yes.
So I always quote this, and I think so. That's one of the mottos of K3 also is there's a quote by Joseph Conway where he says that it's not how you live, it's not how you get cured from anything. It's not how you get cured, but how you live.
Yeah.
So we've been working with people having active symptoms also of mental illness, but they're doing great in other aspects of their life. So, correct. I think so. It's all about perspective. It's all about support. It's all about identifying capacities and strengths in people rather than looking कि इधर क्या गड़बड़ है और
yeah. So I think you guys are the perfect example of when it comes to people first, and then the symptoms and whatever behaviors, mental health issues, and
we've
so
tried
on,
to keep that approach like up there.
Correct.
And we've had our worries and.
I was actually coming to that only, that this whatever you spoke and whatever you described seems very simple and to the point. However, it actually isn't that simple as you have quoted. So there must have been immense challenges and worries. So would you like to throw some light on that?
Yeah, I mean, it's been a rough journey.
Yeah.
And it's a great learning for us also, because when you start off, you tend to romanticize things.
Yes.
Because you go with this good intention.
Correct.
Where you want to make a change, and you think that people will understand and people will make a change in their perspective also, and will understand you. But it doesn't happen that way. So the kind of work that we do has been for a really long while on the streets, because we were using the street vendor model, and where every person has the right to have dignified livelihood. The right to vendor, the right to employment says that. And we were saying that we are putting up carts. The initial seed funding will be by the organization to set up the whole process, and the initial salaries will be borne by the organization, and then eventually the people who work on it will earn themselves. And for that, to be on the streets, it's another ball. And for that, we started reaching out to the different municipalities in the city, which include police, the Nagar Nigam, and everyone. A lot of senior officials did understand that. But I've realized that if you go to a top-bottom approach, what happens is that a lot of information gets filtered also while writing. down to the bottom. And lack of information, half information is very good.
Yeah.
So even though we had support and letters from the area authority about not being abusive to the people that are working on the cards, on the KTP cards, because it could, we kept saying that it could reiterate trauma in some form. Maybe this person has been abused somewhere in the childhood, and
absolutely
comes and starts abusing this person. This person could go back to worse than what this person had.
Right.
And I remember a lot of officials coming at the cart. So area officials coming and understanding that it's a card for persons, it's a card run by persons with disability, though we never advertise anywhere at the card that it's for special needs or for persons for recovery or an NGO, nothing. We don't advertise that at all. And we leave it to the people to decide to share their stories. With the client who are having but they would come and say कि चाय बनाओ जल्दी जल्दी पिलाओ. तुम्हें तो शॉक लगा होगा ना, इलेक्ट्रिक शॉक लगा हो तुम्हारे हाथ तो और तेज चलने जाएंगे. And because I was very personally involved and Fahad was very personally involved in the whole project, we kept on visiting and listening to these things. And we realized that what should we do? I mean, this stuff is going to come up again and again. We can't go tell the world shut up. So it is our duty, actually, as an organization, to prepare our people to respond themselves with responses which are not non-aggressive, which are explanatory, and should be understandable at the level of the people that they are interacting. So we included different forms of training where we included conflict resolution, conflict management. We included how do you respond to aggressive statements? Do you let go? If you let go, what are the repercussions of it? If you don't, how do you what choice in a situation? We do role plays कि अगर ऐसा कोई आता है तो आप कैसे respond करोगे? So it did strengthen a lot of people, a lot of our people, and build confidence amongst them. A big challenge was also working. We got a lot of support from health professionals. But unless and until they came at the cart and had chai with us, they were like, ये कैसे हो रहा है? And we were like, you have to come and have chai with us, sir. मतलब आपको पता नहीं चलेगा.
So no, even for me, even listening to you at this moment, I really feel it's very, very unbelievable for me, and I think I will have to come down to Lucknow to have tea. Only then I'll believe it. Right.
So best bit is like call people on chai. आपकी चाय आइए, चाय पियो, and have like a chat with our people and understand कि कैसे होता है. मतलब you might find it strange for some people because जिन लोगों से हम initial उसमें therapeutically चाय बनवा रहे हैं, उन्होंने कभी दूध भी नहीं उबाला था like. So I remember this funny moment where one of our team members. So we follow a standardized process at the cart. Everything has standards. Even the chai making has standards. We have like वो bakery वाले measuring cups and all of that measurements. And if 3 cup चाय बननी है तो इतना ml पानी पड़ेगा, इतना ml ये पड़ेगा, इतना cup ये पड़ेगा. So I remember I went with one of my colleagues and किसी ने बोला 1 cup चाय बना. So this person smiles back at me and says that, "Madam, 1 cup चाय तो नहीं आती बनाना." So I was like, 3 cup आती है ना? I got the grip of what he was saying. 3 cup बनाओ, फिर चलेगा. So that's when you like these are smiling moments and shining moments for us also. जो इंसान जिसने कभी मतलब घर, and it was a gender breaking stereotype also because most of the people that we were working with were men. तो उनसे शुरुआत में conversation करना कि आप चाय बना लेते हो, And then I had this one punchline with every interview. I would say, चाय पीनी पसंद है, तो they would say, यार चाय तो बहुत पसंद है. तो मैंने कहा, तब काम कर लो यार. जिस इंसान को जिस चीज के साथ वो काम करने का प्यार हो, तो वो इंसान कर लेगा है.
Correct.
So yeah, it's been a journey, and we've had a lot of highs and a lot of lows where we started questioning ourselves also, that what are we doing, because even the team that we had, when we say peer support, they were really young boys who were supporting. और सबका patience, we trained them also in mental health and adaptation and accommodating processes for persons with mental illness. But सबका patience level अलग होता है. Right. और patience बहुत high होना बहुत जरूरी है. तो and when you ask young energetic boys to take like a back end step and just support the person, it's overwhelming for them, because as a young person you want to do
exactly,
take a grip of everything and do yourself. So we realized that some form of abuse was also happening in the whole process, and a lot of conflicts were happening at the cart amongst the team members. And there were statements like, तुम्हारे पापा तो कमा के खिलाई देंगे, तुमको कमाने की क्या जरूरत है? Why do you have to work when I do most of the work? And even if you don't come, I will be able to manage it, and such stuff. And we were really worried about it कि भाई ये बाहर से नहीं आ रहा है, ये हमारे अंदर से आ रहा है. And our team is being abusive. So what do we do now? And how do we change our practices now? So it's appalling sometimes, it's worrying sometimes, but yeah, I think it's a way that you keep learning and find a new problem each time, and then find new ways to address it.
Yeah, I mean, every tiny problem you must have had to look into and find solutions for it, and I think it'll still go on even further.
So right now we are a part of Unlimited India, and it's a startup fellowship. And right now what we're trying to do is trying to take a helicopter view of an organization and not see at a micro level, but see at a macro level when Amreen Fahad maybe are not there to run the organization. Like this situation right now that I am in a personal need and crisis where I need to be away for a while. What will happen? Who are we creating second line leadership to keep it going? Are we creating a culture in the organization that will be true to itself when we are away? Will the organization still be working on the same virtues, or maybe better virtues, when maybe we are not interested to be a part of it? Maybe we want to start something similar, but not this as entrepreneurs. So what will then be a perspective for it?
Right.
So we are working on that, and the team at Unlimited is really helping us out, finding new directions, finding ways where I think it's one thing that we've been trying to do is, क्योंकि scale up करना मुश्किल होता है brands को.
Yes.
So but what we're trying to do is understanding the purpose of what we are doing, the purpose to integrate people and find other routes as well. कि अगर ये नहीं route है, if the flagship program is not the route, the T-Cart is not the route, what are the other routes? What are the other places that we can out? Who are our other collaborators? Is somebody already doing something and we just need to do a little bit to add, to expand their work? Can we be that organization, or do we want to do everything all by ourselves? So we are questioning ourselves. This time, and COVID has given us that time to actually, because we were not on the roads selling tea at this point of time. So we've been working on a training module. We've been working on a helpline program that we converted from a program that we were running at the cart, which was called Project Blackboard. So Project Blackboard was essentially a service where people could drop in questions to access knowledge, awareness around mental health. So if you have a question you're popping in your mind, drop that question. There's a post box at the T-Cart, and by the third day, if you put your email address number. It will be sent to you as a response by a team of mental health professionals from NIMHANS, from dignified colleges who've been working from years together in those particular areas.
Yeah.
And if not, by the third day, the response will reflect on a blackboard that we've set up at the card. So if you don't want to disclose any of your information, you can just come and try again on the third day.
Right.
At the card, and you'll get the response. So that we've
That's
converted.
Incredible.
The same team is now working on a helpline, which is a crisis helpline for people with mental health difficulties to reach out in times of COVID.
Yeah. My God, the journey seems breathtaking and really incredible, and I'm sure
tip of the iceberg.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, Amreen, there are a lot of people, who have, that passion to work towards a social cause, not really just mental health, but other social causes also.
Yeah.
But, if there's anything that you want to tell them before they enter this as an entrepreneur or maybe as a founder or anything into this field, particularly in the development sector, what would that be? What would be the takeaway that you would want to give it to those people?
I think the one thing I would suggest everyone and anyone is, please enter anything with full responsibility of it.
Exactly.
So when you take up something, it shouldn't be forced on you. It shouldn't be something which is temporary. You should experiment with things that float in your mind and challenge them and try them. But then, even if you're doing it for a short period of time, you should take full responsibility of it, because this involves people's lives.
Yeah.
So there may be times when you will have to take a very challenging stance and very challenging. You will have to voice sometimes, and you will have to just sit back sometimes and watch. So be patient, be prepared, because this is not an easy route, and there's no one way to it.
Correct.
So the journey will definitely teach you a lot, but you will have to find and navigate your own route.
Right.
I mean, there's this saying, that there were two routes that diverged into a path, and I took the lesser traveled one. So if you take the lesser traveled one, it involves a lot of risk and it involves a lot of pain, and it may involve a lot of gain, but there's no guarantee to it.
Correct.
So in the same way, when you are taking that route, you have to be ready, you have to be mentally really strong, and at the same time be vulnerable to open up if you need help sometime.
Exactly.
So I keep being approached by a lot of my friends and my relatives who say that, how are you becoming weak? And I keep saying to them that I am just a human like the clients that I work with, the people that I work with. So I have my own points when I go weak, and I have my own vulnerabilities. And if I don't address them, how do you believe that I will fill another glass from an empty glass?
Exactly.
I have to fill my glass first and then fill another glass.
Right. This is very important. I feel that whoever is working in the mental health profession, specifically, I think they also need some kind of therapy at times, or maybe counseling. They also need to undergo these things themselves. Only then they will be able to actually give it back to the society. So thank you so much, Amreen, for sharing your journey, and we will be putting up some success stories and pictures in the video, and also your contact details in case if somebody wants to contact you and help you or get involved. So any last takeaways for the viewers?
I think more than takeaway, I think so it's always a very nurturing and a very enlightening experience to talk to bright minds like you. So it just gives us an opportunity to reflect and go back to where we started from.
And
I think so it's very important to always keep it fresh where you start from.
Exactly.
Because then you stay always very close to your purpose of why you're doing it, instead of what you're doing. Because what will keep changing.
Correct.
But why has to be intact and safe.
Yeah.
So
exactly. So I think that helps. That helps keep us the vision and mission clear, and it actually motivates us to go forward. Right.
Yes. So thank you, Shraddha. Thank you for having me, and it was really nice talking to you. I look to be a part of Sneha Foundation in future anytime you need us.
Absolutely.
As an organization.
Yes. Thank you so much, and once again, I mean, it was a pleasure to have you in this condition specifically for this interview. And once again, we'll keep in touch, and in case if we can collaborate sometime, I think that will be great.
All right. Thank you so much.
All right. Bye-bye.
Have a good day.
Have a good day too.
Bye-bye.